On March 19th, 2026, the internet had to process a strange paradox. A man who millions had collectively decided possessed digital immortality actually passed away. For over 2 decades, the Chuck Norris fax phenomenon circulated online, assigning him godlike invincibility. People joked that he could slam a revolving door, or that he didn't sleep, he waited. This digital folklore reinvented his image for a generation that had never seen a single episode of his television work. But behind the folklore was a man born Carlos Ray in 1940. He grew up in rural Oklahoma, constantly moving to survive severe financial instability. He constructed this invincible reputation through decades of physical training, using it to anchor a life that began with no early signs of public success. That construction began in 1958 when he enlisted in the United States Air Force. Deployed to Osan Airbase in South Korea, he entered a rigid military environment that finally provided the structure his early life lacked. There, he discovered Tang Soo Do, a traditional Korean martial art focused on striking and blocking. He submitted to the grueling, strict repetition required to master the forms. Returning to America, he opened karate schools and entered tournaments, losing his first 2 major fights. Instead of quitting, he intensely studied those early losses, actively correcting his stance and tightening his timing to eliminate weaknesses. The corrections worked. By 1968, he captured the professional middleweight karate championship, holding the title for years and retiring as the 6-time undefeated world champion. Through thousands of hours of sparring, he engineered his own physical and mental strength, leaving his vulnerable beginnings permanently behind him. One of his private martial arts students, the actor Steve McQueen, saw how that intense discipline translated to physical presence. McQueen convinced his instructor to bring that focus to the screen. His definitive cinematic breakthrough arrived in 1972 inside the Roman Colosseum. In The Way of the Dragon, he faced Bruce Lee in a highly choreographed sequence, establishing him as a legitimate martial arts force on film. Through the 1980s, he became a highly bankable box office titan. Films like Missing in Action and The Delta Force relied heavily on his specialized combat skills to draw global audiences. His roles established a specific vision of the American hero, a character defined by quiet stoicism, clear moral boundaries, and an exact, calculated approach to physical confrontation. He carried that exact formula to television in 1993 with Walker, Texas Ranger. For 8 seasons, his unyielding moral clarity and signature roundhouse kicks reached millions of mainstream living rooms every week. By the mid-2000s, internet culture took hold of his tough guy reputation. The viral Chuck Norris facts stripped away the context of his films and turned his physical prowess into an endless series of exaggerated, hyperbolic jokes. Rather than fight the absurdity, he leaned into it. He referenced the jokes in public appearances and even booked a posthumous cameo playing himself in the action comedy Zombie Plane. Adapting to internet culture allowed his image to bypass the usual fade of a retired actor. He remained visible to a generation that valued the irony of the meme as much as the integrity of the original work. Off-camera, his Hollywood persona was anchored by a quiet private life, rooted in his Christian faith and his long marriage to his wife, Gina. In the 1990s, he launched the Kickstart Kids Foundation, a nonprofit designed to replicate the discipline he discovered in the Air Force for students in Texas public schools. Cumulative participation climbs past 120,000, while the trend line for school disciplinary incidents plunges downward. The program maintains active volume, with 8,000 to 9,000 students enrolled annually, proving its lasting success. He prioritized the engineering of character and resilience in vulnerable youth over the maintenance of his own cinematic fame. On March 10, 2026, he posted a video for his 86th birthday. It showed him actively sparring, accompanied by a caption that read, "I don't age, I level up." Just 9 days later, he passed away suddenly but peacefully in Hawaii, surrounded by his family. The global response that followed merged humorous internet tributes with respect for his documented achievements as a fighter, an airman, and a teacher. Strength is deliberately constructed, built, corrected, and carried until handed to the next person. When that transfer happens, the master's influence becomes permanent.